Well guys, I'm out doing a little bit of midday trolling here, and I just wanted to pause and go over a few mistakes that I've noticed that anglers make and I've made in the past that basically just keep you from catching fish, and they're super easy to avoid once you know what they are. So let's get into them. Number one is fishing old memories. This is a common one. You may have heard of it before, but it basically means you're going to a lake you've been to before, a river you've been to before, and instead of thinking through the conditions that you're dealing with and just going out using your electronics, you just head to a spot where you've caught fish before and you stay there for a while because, hey, you caught fish there before, right? So they must be there. Well, I've found it's useful to fish those spots, but only for a few minutes, no longer than you would if you were looking for fish in another circumstance. And then just keep fishing like you would if it was a new lake. Just try and figure out the patterns. Just because that spot had fish at one time does not mean they're there anymore. So that's a mistake number one, is fishing memories. Mistake number two has more to do with your tackle than anything, and that is not cutting off frayed line. I've made this mistake several times and it has cost me some of the biggest fish that I've ever hooked. And I very rarely make it anymore because I've learned it's very much worth the trouble to cut off that line if you feel any frays. And I usually check it, anytime I snag, anytime I catch a fish, I'm gonna run my fingers up and down that line to see if there's any frays, and if there is, just take the minute to retie and you will be very, very glad you did when you hook into that big fish. So that's mistake number two, not trimming your line and retying when you get frayed. So mistake number three is using too heavy of tackle. And by tackle, I mean too heavy a line, too much hardware, big snap swivels, steel leaders, braid directly to your lure, that kind of thing. And the reason that is really detrimental to your fishing success is because the fish can see it. Fish are getting more and more pressured all the time with the advances in electronics and gear. And they get pretty smart. They see a line, they see a big snap swivel, they're not gonna hit that lure if it's not looking perfect. So try and eliminate as much of those as you can. When it comes to leader and pike teeth, use fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon works great for me. You get bit off maybe 1 in 20 fish. You get way more bites with fluorocarbon, so I've been switching to that. And then hook size with live bait is another thing. If you can kind of drop that size down a size or two, really sharp, sticky hooks, I find I get a lot more hookups with small hooks than really big ones, and the bait's gonna have better action, so you'll get more bites. So that's mistake number three, using too heavy a tackle. Mistake number four is listening to other anglers. Now this one is kind of funny because I've made the mistake of listening to other people and going where they told me to go. Instead, it's kind of like fishing memories, except you're fishing somebody else's memories, which is even worse. So you can gather intel, kind of get water temps and get, where the bait's at and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually going to the lake, your buddy's old hotspot that he's sending you to might not be the best choice. And again, if you do go there, don't spend a lot of time if the fish aren't there, because a lot might have changed since he was there last. So mistake number four is fishing other people's memories and listening to other anglers. All right, mistake number five kind of ties in with mistake number one, and that is not moving enough. Again, just like fishing memories, if you're fishing a spot just because you think there should be fish there and you're not at least changing your lure and not moving, you need to move, or you need to try something completely different or slide off the edge a little deeper, because if your bite isn't happening, it's so tempting to just keep trying it until you finally get a bite. But you're much better off cycling through some other ideas, try some other spots, try some other depths, because fish will move from day to day depending on the pressure, on the sunlight, on the waves, on the wind. There's so many factors that can move those fish off or change the way they're feeding, that you just don't want to get stuck trying to fish something that's not working. So those are 5 little tiny tweaks that you can make, but they make a big difference in the long run. So give them a try. We'll catch you next time. Get hooked up.